Hare Krishna. So last week we started sixth chapter, that is Dhyana Yoga. The first section, advancing in Ashtanga Yoga. So if you remember, we had two stages of Ashtanga Yoga discussion. So in the beginning, Krishna speaks about Nishkama Karma Yoga because unless until one is purified enough by practice of Nishkama Karma Yoga, one cannot just take to the Dhyana Yoga directly. So that's how Krishna speaks in the first verse how a real sannyasi and yogi is the person who works with detachment. And then third and fourth verse, Krishna introduced Ashtanga Yoga. So two levels of Ashtanga Yoga. Anybody remembers terminologies? Two levels of
Arurukshan, Yogarudan, Yoga Arurukta.
Yoga Aruda, Yoga Aruruksha. Aruruksha is the beginning stage, Aruda is the advanced stage. Yeah, so third, fourth verse, Krishna described that. And also we discussed various limbs of Ashtanga Yoga, 8 limbs, Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, then Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. And then fifth, sixth verses, we discussed very elaborately about the function of mind, how mind is our best friend and mind is our best enemy as well. The controlled mind is our best friend and uncontrolled mind is our best enemy. So if one really wants one's own welfare, then we should learn to make mind into our friend by controlling it. So usually the mind is controlled through superior intelligence. Hmm. So there are various ways of controlling mind also we discussed. One of the most important ways to strengthen our intelligence through the words of Shastras and Sadhus, Guru Sadhu Shastras, the instructions by that the mind intelligence becomes strong and then it can control the mind. But the mind which is uncontrolled, actually it controls even the intelligence. And person does so many things which are certainly great damage for him. So he damages himself because of just being a servant of mind, just listening to the mind. Because of being overwhelmed by the mind, the person gets into such wrong activities or goes into so many things for which he has to lament later on. So that's why intelligence has to be made strong. Also, one of the most important process is to chant sincerely the holy names. And also, we discussed how there are various ways like cajoling the mind. Bhakti Thakur says, beat the mind morning 100 times, evening 100 times, like that. Counsel the mind. So, in this way, various ways one should try to control the mind, engage the mind in Lord service positively. If the mind is unengaged, if it is not engaged in the service of the Lord positively, surely the mind there are only two choices. If the mind is engaged in the service of the Lord, or mind will simply servant of Maya. There is no other stage of it, either Maya or Krishna. So that mind will simply make a fool out of us. That's why the mind should be engaged positively in service of the Lord by remembering the Lord, by trying to think about the Lord and various ways, services, rendering various services for the Lord. But if one thinks that, okay, I'll not do any service also, I'll simply listen to the mind and I'll simply sit, idle mind surely becomes devil's workshop. There is no doubt, about it. You take it for written. Idle mind always becomes devil's workshop. So, and it will suggest us so many things which are so damaging for us. One of the lectures I was recently hearing that we have done so much of devotional service. Sometimes the whole devotional service will be completely covered if one keeps the mind idle. And when it goes far, far away sometimes from devotional service also by keeping the mind, not engaged properly. If the mind is superior, if the mind is very powerful and not engaged, it can cause a big harm. That's why mind has to be, made into friend. And the same mind, when it is made into friend, it can do such a benefit for us. It can give us, enormous benefits in terms of advancement in Krishna consciousness. So that's how mind has to be made into friend. So it's a little gradual process, but one should be in the process. It's not that one just thinks that, oh, I'll do it after 100 years or something like that. So in this way, fifth and sixth verses discuss about mind. Then seventh and eighth verse. So seventh verse, Krishna tells that somebody who has controlled mind, Paramatma is already reached. Like that, he has already reached the Supreme Lord. That is what, because especially in Dhyana Yoga and in general also for a spiritualist, mind is a very important factor. So these are 7 verses we had discussed. Now please recite 8th verse.
Karuna Brajesh Pro.
Yes, sir. 6.8. ज्ञान विज्ञान तृप्तात्मा
Jnana Vijnana Druptatma
कुतस्थो विजितेन्द्रिया
Kutastho Vijitendriyaha
युक्त इति उच्यते योगी
Yukta iti Uchyate Yogi
समलोस्त्रस्म कांचन.
Samaloshtrashmakanchanaha.
Translation: a person is said to be established in self-realization and is called a yogi or mystic when he is fully satisfied by virtue of acquired knowledge and realization. Such a person is situated in transcendence and is self-controlled. He sees everything, whether it be pebbles, stones, or gold, as the same.
Yeah, so what is getting discussed here now? 8, 7, 8, 9 verses. These 3 verses, Krishna talks about symptoms of a person who is in yoga or Buddha stage. So one symptom was that he has controlled the mind, attained tranquility, completely absorbed, approached the super soul, Paramatma Samahitaha, and neutral to all dualities, heat and cold, that is on physical level, is neutral to them, happiness and distress on a mental level, honor and dishonor honor on egoistic level. So he is beyond that. He is neutral to all these dualities. Heat and cold on physical level, happiness and distress on mental level, honor and dishonor on egoistic level. Now, 8th verse, Krishna talks about the further symptoms. Jnana Vijnana Truttatma means he is satisfied in Shastric knowledge and realization. So, this is 5th symptom. 6th symptom is he is situated in transcendence. Kutastho, that is situated in transcendence. 8th is Vijitendriya, self-controlled. He has a control over himself. He can control his, things. Especially again, it applies to mind. Then 8th symptom is Yukta iti uchyate yogi, self-realized and is called yogi. Yukta is self-realized. And 9th symptom, Sama loshtrashma kanchanaha, equal vision of pebbles, stones or gold. He has got equal vision about these things. So purport, Prabhupada talks about book knowledge without realization of the supreme absolute truth is useless. One may have a lot of knowledge, but if one is not realizing supreme lord without through that, then it is simply useless knowledge. It's simply a kind of, it is said in somewhere else that it is like a burden on a drowning man. If you put a crown on a drowning man, will make him drown further. Similarly, somebody may have a lot of knowledge, but if one is not advancing in devotion towards the Lord, it causes such a big burden on him. So that's why Prabhupada quotes Atha Shri Krishna Namadi Na Bhavedrahyam Indriyehi Sevan Mukhehi Jivhado Spurteva Sarem Adha. That's why one should engage in some practical service also. Of course, one should gain the knowledge, because till now we discussed the glories of gaining knowledge also. But apart from that, one should engage in the devotional service to the Lord, beginning with tongue. One should engage one's senses in the service of the Lord. So tongue by chanting the holy names and of course accepting prasadam, glorifying the Lord, and also engaging with other senses. So Prabhupada says further that no one can become Krishna conscious by mundane scholarship. Just because somebody has some knowledge here and there, he cannot be called as devotee or he cannot become Krishna conscious. There has to be what is a thing, what is a need for becoming Krishna conscious. Prabhupada says that one should be fortunate enough to associate with a person who is in pure consciousness, not just a scholar, but somebody who is in a pure consciousness. One should associate with such a devotee who has realized that knowledge, who has got those realizations of that knowledge, and by the grace of the Lord, he is satisfied with pure devotional service. He is simply satisfied. So Prabhupada used to quote the example of a Brahmana who was kind of guide for Krishna Chandra, King Krishna Chandra in Bengal, was king of Krishnanagar those days. That's how you all know Krishnanagar city, right? It is near to our Mayapur and Godrum Dvip. So there, the King Krishna Chandra used to rule. So he had kind of mentor who was like a Brahmana, was a Brahmana. So one day he went to his mentor and he said that actually I see that you don't have even proper house. You are living in a very poverty-stricken situation. So can I do something? Can I give you something? Can I build a house for you? Can I make some arrangements for you? So this Brahmana, he said, actually, no, I am satisfied. I don't need anything. In fact, I don't have any problem in my life. He said, so many problems you have. He said, no, I don't have any problem. He said, see, my disciples go and beg do some madhukari and get some rice. And my wife, she cooks that rice. And you see, I'm sitting under this tamarind tree. So every day we had nice, we take out some tamarind leaves and boil these tamarind leaves with rice. And in this way, I can get to eat my daily food. I get to eat, and in this way, my basic necessities are taken care. And I engage fully into what? Into discussion of scriptures and into guiding people into their lives. And in this way, I'm satisfied. So King Krishna Chandra, he became very impressed that he said, I have so much of wealth, but I am not that satisfied. But he, having no wealth, still is satisfied, not just because he has no wealth, but is satisfied with knowledge. So that's what Jnana Vijnana Triptatma is satisfied in Shastric knowledge. And Prabhupada says that because he is satisfied in pure devotional service. So when one gains such transcendental knowledge, then one can remain steady in his convictions. So yes, knowledge is required. Knowledge satisfies a person, but Prabhupada is making a distinction here between academic knowledge and the realized knowledge by which one is advancing in Krishna consciousness. So when one gains transcendental knowledge, one can remain steady in his convictions. His convictions remain firm. He remains steady. But somebody simply have academic knowledge, even if it is of the scriptures, even if it is of the Bhakti scriptures. If one simply has an academic knowledge, then one may get easily deluded and confused by apparent contradiction. So this is the difference: academic knowledge and realized knowledge or transcendental knowledge. So Prabhupada further says it is the realized soul who actually self-controlled because he is surrendered to Krishna. So Prabhupada is talking about Vijitendriya. Now, for such a person, mundane scholarship, mental speculation, which may be as good as gold to others, are of no greater value than pebbles or stones. So here Prabhupada is giving a little deeper meaning of pebble, gold, and stones. So one way of equal vision is somebody sees pebbles, stones, or gold on an equal platform. So in the description of Ambarish Maharaj, it is also mentioned that he also considered like that. He had that vision. In the 8th canto, Ambarish Maharaj section, he also considered pebbles, stones, or gold on equal terms. He did not consider them to be much different because he understood these are all manifestations of illusory energy of the Lord, material energy of the Lord. And in this way, he did not have much attraction for gold and all that. So this is one way of how he considers everything to be energy of the Lord and not much difference. It is simply different manifestations of material energy of the Lord, like that. Now, other way, what he considers also, Prabhupada gives a deeper meaning that mundane scholarship and mental speculations are as good as gold for a person. Generally, for ordinary person who has got a great scholarship, many degrees, and lot of ability to speculate in various ways, such a person is respected like anything in the society. So uh, people consider him to be valuable as gold. But such things as mundane scholarship and mental speculation, which are very much revered in material world, but for a really self-realized soul, for them, he considers such kind of things to be no more important than simply some stones or pebbles. In such achievements, in terms of mundane scholarship, he does not consider them to be very, very important. So this is the next four symptoms of next five symptoms of person in yoga ruda stage. So, so, uh, so in this way, this was described how such a person's his mind is trupta. Trupta means satisfied. How persons become satisfied by his jnana, knowledge, and vijnana, realization. Generally, we see in this world to maintain a satisfactory mood is not so easy, isn't it? Because mind always tends to be whimsical. Mind always hankers for what he doesn't have, and keeps on hankering. This is there, but that is wanted. That is want. That is wanted. So that's how. But a person who is advanced in spiritual life is Truptatma. He's satisfied. In fact, this is considered to be one of the greatest wealth of a Brahmana. That is satisfaction. Kutastha means one is fixed up or spiritually elevated. So before the mind gives up sense gratification and is able to be satisfied by jnana and vijnana, it may have to be beaten. In the beginning, mind has great craving for sense gratification and is always dissatisfied. So before it comes to this stage of satisfaction, the mind has to be beaten. Just as blacksmith, he beats up on an anvil. Just like a blacksmith रहता है ना, ठोकते रहता है, ऐसी mind को ठोकना पड़ता है. But one who has thus brought his mind under full control by such thorough control, by thorough discipline of the mind, eventually he can give up even Nishkama Karma Yoga and just sit down and meditate. He can simply sit down and meditate. He doesn't have to do any work. He doesn't have to do any duties. Okay, ninth verse, please recite.
Mandar Prabhu.
Suran mitrari udasena
Suramitrari Udasina
madhyasat dveshya bandhushu
Madhyastha
Yes.
Dvesha Bandhushu
sadhushu api cha papeshu
Sadhushu Api Cha Papeshu
sama buddhir vishishyate.
Samabuddhir Vishishyate.
Translation: a person is considered still further advanced when he regards honest well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, the neutral mediators, the envious friends and enemies, the pious and the sinners, all with an equal mind.
Yeah. In this one, Krishna gives further this thing, more advanced level of equipoised person than previous verses also. Hmm. Why more advanced? Because this verse involves persons now. Our attitude towards persons, that simply objects. So he is equipoised to all types of people. That is the tenth symptom. So basically, this verse is describing the most advanced stages of Yoga Rudha platform because it is difficult for even a great sage to give a family attachment, isn't it? Even gopis, when there is Uddhav Geet, Brahmar Geet is there, not Uddhav Geet, Brahmar Geet. When gopis, they are talking with Uddhava, who is indirectly they are talking with Brahmar, that bumblebee, Uddhava, they say that, this Krishna, he must have sent message to pacify his mother and father. Because even though Krishna may be considered as a great person, even for a great person, it is difficult to give up attachment for his family members. So even to them, Gopis also mentioned this fact in that Brahmar Gita, that even for a sage, advanced sage, it is difficult to give a family attachment. Still, Krishna recommends Sama Buddhi. The yogi, he must be equal to family members, friends, and enemies. Generally, we consider our estimation of who is a friend and enemy is what, who appreciates us, who gives us some kind of soothing words, who values us, who kinds of always glorifies us. Such a person we consider as friend. And somebody gives some opposing, some fault finding, things, then we consider him to be envious. Who does not appreciate, then we consider him to be one who corrects us, one who gives some kind of correction, some kind of faults he finds us, we consider him to be envious. Like that. So this is whole calculation is based on simply false ego, basically. Surut means well-wisher. You remember we discussed these three levels, Surut, Brahdu and Mitra in the previous verses. Mitra is a benefactor. Surut is actually heart-to-heart friend. Mitra is a benefactor. Ari is a killer. Udasina means neutral. Madhyastha is an impartial person. He is concerned about us, but he is neutrally mediating between two belligerents, especially when there is tussle. Dvesha is envious. Bandhu is a well-wisher. How can we see all such persons equally? Generally, our heart goes more towards those who are Surod, Bandhu, Mitra, like that type of people. So it is more difficult to see these people, different people equally, than to have equal vision towards pebbles, stones, and gold. So that's why this is more advanced stage because the persons are involved. Sometimes we may not consider things very important, but when it comes to persons, there is a lot of biased nature we have towards persons. So if one is able to achieve this platform which Krishna is mentioning this verse, his meditation becomes uninterrupted because our mind usually gets disturbed by such type of dealings, different types of dealings with different people. But if somebody is equipoised toward different types of people, then his meditation becomes uninterrupted. There is no hindrance for such a person. Okay, so we have completed this particular section, first to 9 verses, and now we will begin with the next section. Please recite 10th verse.
Mayapur Vihari Prabhu.
योगेन्द्रुत सततम्
Yogi Yunjita Satatam
आत्मानं रहसि स्थितः
आत्मानं रहसि स्थितः
एकाकी यत चित्तम्मा
एकाकी
आत्मा
यत चित्तात्मा
निराशीरपरिग्रहः
निराशीरा परिग्रहः.
Translation. A transcendentalist should always engage his body, mind, and self in relationship with the Supreme. He should live alone in a secluded place and should always carefully control his mind. He should be free from desire and feeling of possessiveness.
Yeah. So first section described about advancing in Ashtanga Yoga from Aruruksha to Aruda stage. Now the second section from 10th verse to 32nd verse talks about different stages of Ashtanga Yoga practice. Different stages of Ashtanga Yoga practice. So now having Krishna has described the perfectional stage of Ashtanga Yoga, now he is going to describe the activities in the practice stage. That is the method to achieve the goal or perfection. So, in the first verse, Krishna described the perfected stage, and then 11th onwards, he is going to start discussing about the beginning stages. पहले perfection stage बता रहा है ये 10th verse में, then he is going to discuss about beginning stages. In the purport, Prabhupada talks about 3 ways of realizing absolute, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. And those who are attached to impersonal Brahman or localized super soul are also partially Krishna conscious. Why? Because they are all different aspects of Krishna only, different aspects of absolute truth only, Brahman and Paramatma. So, why? Because impersonal Brahman is also the spiritual effulgence of the Lord, spiritual ray of the Lord, is the effulgence coming from the Lord, and super soul is all pervading partial expansion of Krishna. In this way, those who realize Brahman or Paramatma, they are having partial realization of Krishna, like that. So, Prabhupada says they are indirectly Krishna conscious. But a directly Krishna consciousness person is a topmost transcendentalist, because he can understand Bhagwan as well as he can understand Paramatma and Brahman as well. So that's why he is highest transcendentalist. Whereas others, and he is, fully Krishna conscious. Whereas others are partially or indirectly Krishna conscious. Further, Prabhupada says, nevertheless, all of these are instructed herewith to be constantly engaged in their particular pursuits so that they may come to the highest perfection sooner or later. They should not give up their pursuits. They should lage raho. They should engage into their pursuits of self-realization and trying to come to transcendental platform so that one day the perfection will be achieved. And further, Prabhupada talks about the first business of a transcendentalist is to keep the mind always on Krishna. One should always think of Krishna and never forget him even for a moment. So this is golden rule of bhakti. You all know, right? Smartavya sapatam Vishnu, vismartavya na jatuchit. Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. And such a concentration of the mind on the Supreme is called samadhi. So in order to concentrate the mind, one should always remain in seclusion and avoid disturbance by external objects. He should be very careful to accept favorable and reject unfavorable conditions that affect his realization. And in perfect determination, he should not hanker after unnecessary material things that entangle him by feelings of possessiveness. So there are the requirements for practicing this Jnana Yoga process. And Prabhupada further quotes Srila Rupa Goswami, the 2 famous verses, Anasakyasya Vishayan Yatharham Upavijyatah Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagyam Uchyate Prapanchikataya Buddhya Hari Sambandhe Vastunaha Mumukshubhi Parityago Vairagyam Phalgo Katyate. So what is detachment? What is real Vairagya? If one thinks that everything should be simply given up, that is a Phalgo Vairagya. But when a devotee considers everything to be used in Krishna's service and becomes free from using them for personal sense gratification, but tries to use everything in Krishna's service, That is real Vairagi. That is perfect renunciation. This is from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So, Prabhupada tells how, Krishna conscious person knows everything belongs to Krishna, and that's why everything should be used in Krishna's service. And in this way, he becomes free from that feelings of possessiveness. I have this, I want that, this is my property. He understands that everything belongs to Krishna, and that's why it it is his and should be used for his service. Further, Prabhupada says he's always aloof from material things because he's always transcendental and he's always alone, having nothing to do with persons not not in Krishna consciousness. So he avoids such association of those who have not in Krishna consciousness. He remains aloof from them and he is always transcendental. And that's how he's a perfect yogi. Yeah. So, having described yoga road stage, Krishna is now explaining how to practice yoga in that stage. So, one must be Nirashi, completely free from material desires and possessiveness. He must also be Ekaki. Ekaki means alone in a secluded place, Rahasi. He should not be too much, especially in general, we see Prabhupada used to recommend that being alone does not mean remaining alone in some kind of kutir or something. Being alone means especially becoming free from materialistic association. So better be surrounded by devotees, stay in devotee association, not especially be in the association of those who are interested in advancement of Krishna consciousness, and not surround oneself with a lot of materialistic people. Actually, he should not be even surrounded by disciples. That's what it means. So in this way, purport, Prabhupada has brought out Krishna's discussion to its highest point by describing and then emphasizing bhakti as the topmost yoga practice. This is not Prabhupada's own kind of thought. This is what Krishna is going to state in the end of this chapter. So Prabhupada gives it from the beginning itself. The conclusion, Prabhupada takes the conclusion in mind. Prabhupada takes the conclusion in mind and keeps on talking about the things from the beginning itself. So, in this way, Prabhupada additionally describes how the direct practice of bhakti automatically fulfill rigorous requirements of Ashtanga Yoga. Ashtanga Yoga things are required which are very rigorous. But if one takes directly to the path of bhakti, it automatically fulfills all such rigorous requirements. Now, next verse onwards, Krishna is going to describe the basic practices of Ashtanga Yoga. So please read next verse.
Ravi Prabhu.
Yes. कायेन मनसा बुद्धया
11th verse.
Hare Krishna.
11th verse.
Yes, Guruji. Hello.
We are able to hear you, Ravi Prabhu.
Can someone else read? I'm not able to.
Okay. Rohit Prabhu.
हरे कृष्ण शुचौ देशे प्रतिष्ठाप्य
Shuchodeshe pratishtapya
स्थिरम् आसनम् आत्मना
Thiram asanam atmanaha
नात्य उच्छ्रितं नातिनीचं
Nati uchcharitam nati shrijam
शैलाजिना कुशतोराम्
Chailajina Kushottaram.
Tatraik, next verse also, right?
Yes, yes.
Tatraikagram mana kritva
Tatraikagram mana kritva
yata chitendriya kriya
yata chittendriya kriyaha
upavishyasane yunjat
भविष्यासने युञ्जात्
yogam atma vishuddhaye.
योगमात्मा विशुद्धये.
Translation. To practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place and should lay kushagras on the ground and then cover it with a deer skin and a soft cloth. The seat should be neither too high nor too low and should be situated in a sacred place. The yogi should then sit on it very firmly and practice yoga to purify the heart by controlling his mind, senses, and activities and fixing the mind on one point.
Purport also you can read.
Yeah. Sacred place refers to places of pilgrimage. In India, the yogis, the transcendentalists, or the devotees all leave home and reside in sacred places such as Prayag, Mathura, Vrindavan, Rishikesh, and Haridwar. And in solitude practice yoga where the sacred rivers like Yamuna and the Ganges flow. But often this is not possible, especially for Westerners. The so-called yoga societies in big cities may be successful in earning material benefit, but they are not at all suitable for the actual practice of yoga. One who is not self-controlled and whose mind is not undisturbed cannot practice meditation. Therefore, in the Brihan Puran, it is said that in Kali Yuga, the present Yuga or age, when people in general are short lived, slow in spiritual realization, and always disturbed by various anxieties, the best mean of spiritual realization is chanting the holy name of the Lord. Harer Nam, Harer Nam Eva Kevalam, Kalo Nasteva Gatiranyatha. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is chanting the holy name of the Lord. There is no other way. There is no other way. There is no other way.
Yeah. So in purport, how Prabhupada spoke that you know such a yoga practice is not possible in big cities. This type of Ashtanga yoga or Dhyana yoga practice. One should be situated in a sacred place. Go to a secluded place. So mm, many yoga classes and yoga societies who are giving meditation techniques, but they are not considering this authorized version of how the where yoga should be practiced, not in the midst of a city. One should go to reside in a sacred place like that. So that's why the so-called yoga societies may be successful in earning material benefit by charging a lot of fees and getting a lot of money, but such yoga practices of Ashtanga yoga, Dhyana yoga, they are not suitable in this age because it is not so easy for people to leave the city and go to forest or go to Himalayas or go to even holy places also. It's not that easy. One has to do a lot of things. Sometimes there are duties, sometimes there are some obligations. So that's why uh, you know it is essential that one takes to the most suitable practice of this age. And what is that most suitable practice? Most suitable practice for according to the current situation is to chant the holy names of the Lord, and there is no other way. So that's why it is not possible to do such kind of meditation just by remaining in cities and being a city resident. So better take to the Bhakti Yoga, beginning with especially the chanting of the holy names. So that's what Prabhupada mentions the purport. So in general, the aspiring yogi must live alone, free from fear and attachment. He has to sit still. He cannot stand. He cannot sleep. He should focus his mind He must sit on his own asana, not on others' asana. Because asanas, kamandalus, cloth, this should not be shared. So these are all, uh, these are all the rules of Vedic living, proper, Brahminical standards that one should not share one's asana, one should not share one's cloth. In hostel, we see sometimes differently. People, they wear each other's shirt also, and pant also, shoes also, chappals also, but they should not be shared. Chadar, you cannot use others' chadars like that. Commander is also there saying. So, Prabhupada, in the lecture September 4, 1966, in New York City, in this particular Gurujan Prabhu is quoting this Prabhupada's lecture on this verse. Shucho Deshe Pratisthapya, he must be situated in a very sanctified place. Siram Asanam Atmanaha, the asanam, the sitting place should not be changed. And how should the sitting place be selected? Nati Ucharitam, not too much raised, not too low. And Chailajina Kushottaram, Chaila means cotton, sitting place. Then deer skin. Yogis sit on either skin of a tiger or the skin of a deer. Why? Because they are in a secluded place and these skins have some special chemical effect. Tiger skin and deer skin. You might have seen also sometimes, at least I saw that my grandfather had a deer skin. So you might have seen also sometimes there are their deer skin or tiger skin, they are there. Why? Because they have proper say they have some chemical effect. If you sit on a deer skin, then reptiles and snakes don't disturb you. Because yogi is sitting in the forest or in the Himalayas, in mountains, in a secluded place, where is the security for him? Security comes by this, by deer skin or tiger skin, because there are some snakes, otherwise snakes and all, they will come and yogi will be disturbed in his mind. He'll be always afraid. Maybe some snake will come, maybe some reptile will come, some kind of chameleon may come, or some kind of different animals may come. But somebody sits on this, then he becomes free from that anxiety and he can meditate with a peaceful mind. So of course, nowadays, acquiring such skins is forbidden as far as I know by government, isn't it? So, anyways, one cannot get a deer skin and tiger skin. I don't know what is the rule, but that's what I understand. That government has banned such kind of hunting, and that's how you cannot get a deer skin or tiger skin very easily. Okay, so this is 11th and 12th verse. Please recite 13th and 14th verse.
Soumya Prabhu.
Yes. Samam kaya siro grivam
Samam kaya sthiro
Aryan achalam sthirah
Arayan achalam sthirah
Sampreksya nasikagram svam
Sampreksha nasikagram swam
Disascha navo lokayan
Dishashchava Navalokayan
Prasannatma vigatavir
Prashantatma Vigatavir
Brahmachari varte sthitah
Brahmachari Vrate Sthitah
Manah samyamya machitto
Mana Samyamya Machitto
Yukta sita matparah.
Yukta Sita Matparaha.
Translation: one should hold one's body, neck, and head erect in a straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose. This with the unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sexless. One should meditate upon me within the herd and make me the ultimate goal of life.
Yeah, so in this verses, Krishna has very clearly spoken that the goal of meditation is to meditate on Him, not something on some object As many meditation educators, they tell you that you can meditate on anything. You can meditate on a red light. You can meditate on a point. You can meditate on anything. Here, Krishna very clearly telling that one should meditate upon me. Krishna is saying within the heart. Me means Krishna is directly referring very unambiguously. Krishna is telling object of meditation is Krishna only, Paramatma only, and nothing else. Hmm. And he should make his ultimate goal of life Krishna. Krishna is the ultimate goal of life. So very clearly Krishna is mentioning these things. So what we see that many times the people who educate, they don't refer to these authorized statements and they concoct their own ways. You can meditate on anything. You can just meditate on something. You can meditate on Brahman. Like the goal of life, Prabhupada says, is to know Krishna, who is situated within the heart of every living being as Paramatma, the four-handed Vishnu form. And the yoga is process is practice in order to discover and see this localized form of Vishnu and for no other purpose. The purpose of Dhyana Yoga is also to get darshan of Lord Vishnu within one's heart, is situated as Paramatma. One who has no program to realize this Vishnu Murti is uselessly engaged in mock yoga practice and certainly wasting his time. Strongly Prabhupada is condemning. One who does not want to realize this Vishnu is simply wasting his time in mock practices of yoga. Now, Prabhupada says further, to realize this Vishnu Murti within the heart, what one has to do? One has to observe complete abstinence from sex life. And therefore, one has to leave home and live alone in a secluded place, remaining seated as mentioned above. One cannot enjoy sex life daily at home or elsewhere and attend a so-called yoga class and thus become a yogi. Things are very powerfully spoken by Prabhupada. It's not that one can do anything one likes and still say that I am a yogi, I am a meditator. So one has to practice controlling the mind, avoiding all kinds of sense gratification, of which sex life is the chief. And Prabhupada is quoting Yajnavalkya Smriti, Karmana Manasa Vacha Sarvas Vasthau Sarvavasthasu Sarvada Sarvatra Maithuna Tyago Brahmacharyam Pachakshate. The vow of brahmacharya is meant to help one completely abstain from sex, indulgence in work, words, and mind at all times, under all circumstances, and in all places. So, no one can perform correct yoga practices through sex indulgence like that. So, how much it is emphasized that one has to abstain from sex life in order to practice this particular yoga, Ashtanga yoga, Dhyana yoga practice. That's why Prabhupada says, every child is trained in Gurukula in the process of Brahmacharya. Brahmacharya training is very essential. Even when no one has no knowledge of sex life, at the age of 5, children would go to Gurukul and they would practice this Brahmacharya at least for 15-20 years. So, although he was educated about principles of brahmacharya when he had no knowledge of sex life. At the age of 5, one has no knowledge of sex life, right? Still he is educated into that. So this is sex education. People say that nowadays sex education should be given. What is sex education? How to control and restrain sex life, like that. So in the Gurukul, the master trains the young boys in the strict discipline of becoming brahmacharis. Without such practice, no one can make advancement in any yoga. It is not only about Dhyana yoga, it is even Dhyana, Jnana, and even Bhakti yoga. Without such training, practice, and of Brahmacharya, one cannot become any yogi. Unrestricted sense enjoyer cannot become any type of yogi. Prabhupada says, however, one who follows the rules and regulations of married life, having a sexual relationship only with his wife, and that also under regulation, is also a brahmachari. Such a restrained householder brahmachari, is accepted in bhakti school. So there are two types of brahmachari. One is Naishtika brahmachari, there is Grihastha brahmachari. Both are considered to be brahmacharis and both can practice bhakti yoga. So, but one who is lavishly enjoying sex life, he cannot be, even in Bhakti Yoga, he cannot advance. So such a restrained householder brahmachari may be accepted in Bhakti school, but Jnana and Dhyana schools do not even admit household brahmacharis. That's why even for sannyas, Shankaracharya, Advaita philosophy, first qualification is to take sannyas, completely as abstain from sex life. But in Bhakti school, both are admitted, both are accepted. So these Jnana and Yoga schools, they require complete abstinence without compromise. In the Bhakti school, however, a householder brahmachari is allowed controlled sex life because the cult of Bhakti Yoga is so powerful that one automatically loses sexual attraction and being engaged in the superior service of the Lord. And Prabhupada quotes famous verse of Vishya Vinirartanti. So, other than devotee, no one has any information of this superior taste. And that's why in Bhakti Yoga only, person can practice in any situation one is in. Now, further Prabhupada talks about Vigata Dhi. Vigata Bhi. Dhi means fearfulness. Vigata Bhi means one who is completely free from fear. Conditioned soul is fearful. Why? Because due to his perverted memory, he has forgotten Krishna and his eternal relationship with Krishna. Just like a child who gives up his father and tries to go on the road, forgetting his protection of his father, he's always afraid. One lorry may come from this side, this thing. He may leave the hand of father and say, I'll go myself. And in this way, he'll be always in fearful condition. Prabhupada quotes, Bhayam Dvitiyat Abhinivesha Tasyat Ishad Apetasya Viparyayo Smritihi. Because of Viparya Smriti, because of perverted memory, what is that? Ishad Apetasya. Ishad Apetasya means forgetting Supreme Lord, relationship with Supreme Lord, and then Abhiniveshataha is absorbed in illusion of material life. What happens? Bhayam. जो अभिनिवेश जो है, absorption जो है material consciousness से, उसके कारण क्या होता है? Bhayam comes. So that's why Krishna consciousness is the only basis of fearlessness, because one realizes protection of Krishna, shelter of Krishna, and in this way one becomes fearless. So, Ekho na bujino Prabhu, Tomar charana, Ashoka bhayamruta, Purna sarvatra. In that he says that, since I have started worshipping Lord, your lotus feet, Thakur says, I have become free from Ashoka and Abhaya. I have become free from Shoka and Bhaya, from lamentation and fear. And I am tasting the nectar. Like that. So one who takes shelter of the Lord, he becomes free from fearfulness also. So this way, Krishna is talking these basic practices of Ashtanga Yoga. So after teaching proper sitting, Krishna is teaching how to meditate. Achalam means unmoving, fixed and unshaken. The yogi must not rock back and forth or look at here and there. Not like chanting. While chanting, we may do something. Hare Krishna. Rock back and forth, look here and there. But yogi cannot do that. He cannot, while meditating, rock like this. He also must be pure brahmachari. Like that, these are all the preconditions for practicing this Dhyana Yoga system. So anyways, now here I am at Govardhan, and we have our IIC going on with His Holiness Bhakti Prem Maharaj is giving Bhagavatam class. So I would like to stop today and go for the class of Maharaj, and tomorrow also we'll do the same thing, because we have our sessions also here. So we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
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 Jai.